Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope your 2025 is off to a blazing start. At the time of recording this, we have a ice and snowstorm that's actually moving in. So, yeah, the next 24 to 48 hours is going to be really interesting. I'm not too concerned about the snow. The ice is what I'm a little bit worried about. But at the same time, hey, if it keeps me from having to go to work early tomorrow, I'm all for it. So for today's video, we're going to be looking at TikTok once again. Specifically, we're going to be looking at Living Flat Earth's page, where they have a TikTok explaining how time and the seasons work on a flat Earth. Prepare to have all of your questions unanswered. Let's check it out.
How does time and seasons work on a flat Earth? Well, our realm is an electromagnetic terrarium surrounded by an ethereal sea of water.
Okay, so we are starting off strong here. So, according to them, we are in an electromagnetic terrarium. Like, I can't even visualize what that even looks like. And surrounded by an ethereal sea of water. I'm not sure what to think of any of that. And I'm sure we will get no further explanation or any proof that any of this exists. But alas, let's continue.
Journey above our flat Earth, rotating in concentric spirals. There are 5 prominent circles of latitude. First, there's the Arctic Circle, which is closest to the center. Then the Tropic of Cancer at 23.5 degrees latitude in the northern hemisphere. Next, the equator at 0 degrees latitude. Following that, the Tropic of Capricorn at 23.5 degrees latitude in the southern hemisphere. And lastly, the Antarctic Circle. The sun journeys from the equator during the March equinox, moving up in a concentric spiral to the Tropic of Cancer. Whenever the sun is...
Okay, so... why... what? So, the sun just moves from one concentric circle to another? Is there a mechanism? Like, why is it just moving from the equator to the Tropic of Cancer? Are we going to get any explanation on why it just moves like that? Okay, let's continue.
The northern hemisphere experiences summer, and the southern hemisphere experiences winter. After that, the sun turns and begins making its way back to the equator. The word tropic stems from a Latin word, tropicus, which means pertaining to its own.
So I don't trust anything these people say, and so I decided to look up the definition of tropicus, and this definition of pertaining to its own, I don't know where that came from. So what I found is that it means to turn or a turning. So regarding the solstice, whenever the sun is at its highest point in the sky, the sun would seem to be turning back. So as in turning back towards the horizon. So I don't know where their definition came from.
Journeys back, taking the same concentric spiral path, reaches the equator again, and then keeps going until it reaches the Tropic of Capricorn.
Yeah, glad to see we still haven't explained why the sun moves from each concentric circle to another.
Position. The southern hemisphere experiences summer, and the northern hemisphere experiences winter. Then it's back to the equator for the March equinox. The equinox occurs when the sun's journey is around the equator, and those living along this line of latitude will see the sun directly overhead at a 90-degree angle, especially at solar noon. The March equinox marks the season of spring in the northern hemisphere, and the September equinox marks the season of autumn.
Well, even though the mechanism behind it's completely wrong, at least they did get the definitions of what the equinoxes are correct.
In the southern hemisphere, this is reversed. The September equinox marks spring, and the March equinox is autumn. Our sun never reaches the Arctic Circle, nor does it reach the Antarctic Circle. It never reaches our poles. It journeys to the tropic circles and then turns back, which we call a solstice, meaning the point at which the sun seems to stand still. It stops at the solstice because it does.
Okay, so not that this TikTok really had any strong arguments going for it. This is where it seems to really fall apart. So right there at the end, they say that the sun stops at the solstice because it does. What does that mean? Why does the sun stop at the solstice? The other thing is that they're making the solstice seem like it's this physical object that's keeping the sun from going any farther north or south, and that's not at all what the solstice is. The Earth has an axial tilt of 23.5 degrees. At certain points in its orbit, one of the hemispheres will experience more direct sunlight where the other experiences less. So, during the July solstice in the northern hemisphere, the Earth is tilted at its maximum, with sunlight being more direct. The southern hemisphere, on the other hand, experiences less sunlight as it is tilted away from the sun. This means that the northern hemisphere will be experiencing summer, while the southern hemisphere will be experiencing winter. The opposite would be true for the December solstice, where the northern hemisphere would be experiencing winter due to it being tilted away from the sun and experiencing less direct sunlight. The southern hemisphere would be in the summer because it would be experiencing more direct sunlight as it is tilted towards the sun. The sun will be at its highest point above the horizon because of the Earth's axial tilt, not because the solstice is keeping it from going any farther. Good Lord. One thing that I did find interesting about this TikTok is that they low-key kind of implied that there was a 24-hour sun around Antarctica while describing the seasons. So it wasn't explicitly said, but the way things were described, it almost seemed as if there was a 24-hour sun in this model, which is kind of odd because if you know anything about flat Earth or flat earthers, the majority of them will say that there is no 24-hour sun in Antarctica, which that's what proves the Earth is flat, which all of us sane people are fully aware, yes, there is a 24-hour sun in the summertime in Antarctica. Also, where is the moon in all of this? Like, they're talking about all of these crazy-ass concentric circles. Where does the moon orbit? How does the sun have to go around the moon in certain this makes no sense to me. Like, the moon seems to be a really big obstacle in this, well, one of the many obstacles in this model, but it just seems like the moon would cause a lot of issues with all of these orbits and concentric circles where the tropics are. So yeah, that could have been explained. Then again, trying to get an explanation from a flat earther is nearly impossible, so I don't know what I was expecting there. Anyways, that was another dive into Flat Earth TikTok. I can officially say I learned nothing once again. Good times. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of this content, it would mean the world to me if you hit the subscribe button. And I will see you all next time. Peace.